Welcome to the Sneaking into the Movies podcast. I'm Max Nathan.
And I'm Norma Davis. And Max, do you smell what The Rock is cooking?
I think I smell what The Rock is cooking.
I think I do too. And it sounds like he's cooking up the smashing machine. So let's get right into it.
One, two, one, two, three.
Norman, you are a bit of a UFC guy.
A bit. I got my wardrobe ready for today.
There you go. Such a prepared podcaster today.
Yeah, I don't have any Tron merch for next week, so I know I had the Punch Drunk Love Blu-ray. I'm fun with it. I'm not buying no Tron merch, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a little bit of a fan. I wouldn't call myself like a super fan. I definitely watch more than most people. I was like kind of interested in high school. I'd watch like the big fights you hear about, like Conor McGregor and John Jones, all those really famous guys. I'm not crazy about them now. But when I got to college, I met my really close friends were all into UFC. So we watch it all the time now. I just watched it this Saturday. I watched the Alex Pereira fight. So yeah, I'm definitely a fan. I don't really like Dana White or most of the fighters. We've never paid for a card once. Always pirating. I'm not watching that stupid ass White House card. But yeah, I like UFC. Which is one of the big drives for me to go be excited for this movie.
Yeah. Were you aware of Mark Kerr before seeing the movie?
I knew who he was, but I didn't really know much about him.
Okay.
I knew he wrote, or there was like this book. I didn't know about the documentary, which we'll talk about more until the movie actually came out. My buddy was telling me about it. But I was familiar with him. The UFC pays their fighters like shit now, and they've never really respected or looked out for their fighters. And a lot of their early fighters like Mark Kerr kind of get that respect now, but they never really did for being like the pioneers, the same way where like the NBA with like Kareem and like those guys from a billion years ago, or the NFL. So yeah, I had definitely heard of him. I'd never seen any of his fights or knew really anything about him, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I, full transparency, am a bit of a novice when it comes to UFC. I don't really watch this stuff. So seeing this movie was kind of like a gateway into that for me. I've seen fights before, but it's not necessarily my thing.
Sure.
And let me just say, the fighting is kind of the most important part about it. Or this movie kind of takes a little bit of a different approach, but the fighting is obviously a very important part to the fighting movie as it stands. And I thought the fighting in this movie was pretty entertaining, pretty fun. Benny Safdie kind of takes a little bit of a different approach when it comes to depicting the nature of these fights. It's very ethereal, and it's kind of like you're almost floating above and under and around the fight while this, wistful music plays, and it kind of makes it feel beautiful in a way that I haven't really seen depicted before. And I thought that aspect of it was the thing that I really appreciated about the movie. Like, that is what makes it different from any other fighting movie that I've seen, at least. What did you think about the fighting in the movie as a UFC head?
No, I liked it. I thought it was cool. I was watching an interview, and Benny was talking about how they just never wanted to actually have the camera in the ring because, like, obviously, unless you're one of the two fighters, you're never going to know what it looks like in that ring. But yeah, I thought it was all really cool. Just fighting, like all sports, has evolved a lot since the 90s. So yeah, it was just kind of cool to see those early days and like the whole UFC is the ultimate fighting championship, and like the whole idea is you can use kind of any style of fighting. Like, it's not like you're watching a boxing match where you can just box, or you're watching like a karate tournament. It's like you could have a boxer going up against a karate master. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the movie did a good job kind of showing that off and exploring that. Giant dudes beating each other up.
Yeah. And honestly, like similar to like F1 earlier this year where they kind of like walk you through F1, the sport, in a pretty effective way. They kind of do that here and walking you through like you just explained, like you could have a you could have a boxer fighting like a karate master or something like that. Like there's lots of interesting juxtaposition when it comes to the types of fighters that will participate in a UFC match. And that's pretty cool that was, they were able to kind of like, walk me, a novice, through that pretty well. Let's talk about Dwayne Johnson, the man himself, who's portraying Mark
driving force in this marketing even more than the UFC.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone who's watched the movie before knows who The Rock is. He has been famous for so long, and he's just gotten more and more famous. But the past couple of years have not been great for our buddy Dwayne Johnson. He had a pretty, at least financially, generational run in the 2010s. Everything he was making was making a lot of money, no matter kind of what it was. And people were constantly memeing and joking on him over how he would just do the same thing, how he'd wear the same outfit, whether it's Rampage or Skyscraper or Jumanji. He wasn't really putting out the acting chops. And then the last couple of years specifically, he has tried to take over DC with Black Adam and trying to shape himself as the top of the pyramid in the DC superhero universe.
When you say try to take over DC as well, you're not kidding. That's not an exaggeration.
No, like literally went over studio heads and like lied to Henry Cavill and did everything in his power to put himself at the top. Not just make a big movie, but be in charge of DC and have all of the DC, universe, whatever stuff, all leading to Black Adam stuff or Superman fighting Black Adam and then Superman and Black Adam teaming up.
It was all when there was no leadership at DC because there was a bit of a power vacuum, everybody got fired or whatever. He sort of seized that power and basically tried to make DC like an extension of his brand, which is kind of nuts. And then
for those of you who don't know, Black Adam is like not really a big character. If you haven't seen the movie or heard about it coming out, you probably haven't heard of him if you haven't read a comic book. He's a Shazam villain, and he never even got to be with Shazam in the movies because The Rock is not going to play second bill to anybody. So turn into his whole movie.
Especially not Zach Levi.
Especially not Zach Levi, which, good on The Rock. But he was trying to make that movie forever. And then it just kind of came out, and it was just kind of like a mediocre whatever. I don't know. As somebody who watches pretty much every superhero movie that comes out, it wasn't trying to do anything. It felt like it came out in 2008 in a bad way. Not like Venom feeling like it came out in 2008 in like an awesome way. But so he tried to take over DC. When that didn't work, he tried to go back to the WWE, which is getting booed and booed and booed. And it was just like his ego's way too big. I'm not really into WWE anymore. I was as a kid, so I don't really follow the storyline. But he kind of just came in and ruined everything they had going, and no one was happy about that. So what do? You go for the Oscar.
Now we're here.
You team up with Benny Safdie, who co-directed Good Time and Uncut Gems, two of the best movies of this century. I know you agree. I know Uncut Gems is like your favorite movie.
Yep.
And worked on a lot of other cool stuff. The Curse. Did you ever watch The Curse?
I watched half of it. I dropped off. Not because I didn't like it or anything, but I just dropped off naturally. Do with that information what you will.
No, it was a hard watch, that show.
Yeah.
It was rough getting to the end. He's been doing a lot of different stuff. Obviously, Josh Safdie. They kind of split up. No one really knows why. They're on good terms, whatever. But Josh Safdie has Marty Supreme coming out in a couple months, which is looking pretty great, if I do have to say so myself. It premiered last night to ridiculously good reviews. Might have another superhero on our hands. But, The Smashing Machine and The Rock. what did you think of The Rock's? Okay, before I ask that, do you have a favorite Rock performance outside of the Smashing Machine?
It'd have to be Black Adam, honestly, unless I'm missing something. There, like you said, there's just not that many Rock performances that are worth clamoring about. I saw the other day, I think it was Rolling Stone put out. It was Rolling Stone or one of those magazines put out a list of the top 50 Dwayne Johnson movies. And I was like, holy shit, this guy's been in 50 movies, number one. And I can't name 10. And yeah, no, I was just shocked to realize that. But yeah, no, I guess it would be Black Adam, just by default. I didn't hate that movie. I was actually, part of the Black Adam, I don't know, Adamites.
I saw it in theater once and I thought it sucked.
Yeah.
I have two Rock performances that I think are really good where he's trying to do something different. And they're two movies that fall under most people's radar. Number one, a movie I haven't seen in a while, granted, Sutherland Tales.
Okay.
It's a very, very, very out there, strange movie. Probably the most out there, strange thing he's ever done. It's kind of like Idiocracy. It's kind of just like... It's a good movie, just in general, Sutherland Tales. Check it out. It's just kind of like that same... Kind of what we talked about One Battle last week, where the paranoia of living in today's world and just... You always feel like you can get shot in the head. It's a great movie. But my favorite Rock performance has got to be Pain and Gain.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You're right. It's not Black Adam.
I think Pain and Gain is like a phenomenal... It's probably my favorite Bay movie. I'm a Michael Bay head. I think that guy's cool.
I think, yeah, we both are.
Big fan of Pain and Gain and The Rock being ridiculous in that movie. So I don't know. I didn't find it so eye-rolling, the idea that he would give a really good performance in The Smashing Machine.
Yeah. I thought he would do pretty well going in. Like, his acting ability has never been his limitation. It's always been
that ego
and the roles he's choosing. Yeah, no, those Jumanji reboots are rough. Black Adam is rough. Red 1 was about the pinnacle of...
I like the Jumanji reboot.
Oh my... Are you fucking with me
no,
right now?
No, I'm serious. I don't even like the original, and I like the... I don't really remember liking the second one, but I remember having a really good time with the first one.
Damn.
But I've always been a big Rock guy,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, me too. I love The Rock.
It's no secret that the WWE is fake, and those guys are all actors. And you see more and more, obviously, like the big three, I'd say, of WWE stars turns actors would be The Rock, John Cena, and Batista.
Yeah,
there's more. I mean, like I know Street Fighter. I know Cody Rhodes is in it.
Mm-hmm. They got a bunch of guys in that one.
Yeah, a lot of these guys are branching out, which is really cool. So yeah, I've never thought he couldn't have a great performance. With that being said, what did you think of his performance in The Smashing Machine?
I thought he was really good. Like, it's not a performance that I'm ready to, like, go out and scream into the street, Dwayne Johnson needs an Oscar! The Smashing Machine! Not that, for me. For me personally. I thought he did a great job. I always think he's pretty compelling, even in the worst movies. But he really is doing something different here. It's, for one, like a real movie. This is directed by Benny Safdie. This is a true story about a real UFC fighter who was pretty important to the legacy of that sport. And he has some real dramatic scenes in this movie. There's a lot between him and Emily Blunt, depicting the relationship between Mark and Dawn. Pretty wild stuff in those scenes. And he has a lot of responsibility within them, and he delivers, I thought. What do you think of him in those, like, intense, dramatic scenes?
I thought he was great. I guess we'll talk more about the scenes.
Yeah.
How I felt about the actual scenes.
Let's get into it.
I didn't think this movie was great. I'll just straight up say right now.
Yeah.
there was a lot I liked while sitting down and watching it. Like we said, obviously, if you've seen Uncut Gems or Good Time, this movie looks beautiful. It's incredibly well shot. I thought all the performances were great, including The Rock. But I found it hard to connect to pretty much anything going on in this movie. I don't know totally why, or I do know why. They just didn't really want to get into it. So this movie is confusing. So this was a book that was made into a documentary that was made into a movie. Mark Kerr was obviously involved. He shows up at the end of this movie. And I just think they didn't really want to get into the nitty gritty, which made it very hard to kind of care when, specifically like Mark and Dawn. I thought everything with them was terrible.
Okay.
Just straight up. I didn't give enough breathing room to kind of see them as a happy couple. It would just be like every time there was a scene of them, it would just be her getting upset about something and then it just turning into a much bigger thing. And by the time that concludes and it gets to the highest point of them arguing, and it just didn't feel earned. I thought Dawn specifically just felt like she was written terribly. Like I didn't have a problem with Emily Blunt or the performance necessarily, but it was just more like how she was framed throughout the movie. It felt very straight up misogynist. I don't really know. It's a little dramatic, but that's just kind of how I felt. Where
Yeah, I mean, that's valid. I mean,
it just felt very one-sided, and like she didn't really get her piece. And I think the fact that the last shot we saw of her was her in a cop car was a little bit ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know. I was pretty disappointed in that aspect. Because I also love Emily Blunt. I think she's fantastic. She's got great chemistry with The Rock. This isn't the first movie they've worked on. For my Jungle Cruise heads out there.
Are you going to tell me that you like Jungle Cruise too?
Dude, I don't even know. Like, I've seen that movie, but like, gun to my head, if you told me anything other than like, to name you anything other than Paul Giamatti on his boat, I'm done for. But yeah, I just thought all of those scenes were handled terribly. And this movie was marketed in that way. It kind of felt like it was going to be about their romance, which is another reason why I think it kind of underperformed, but we'll get to that. Yeah, I thought the highlights of this movie were Mark Coleman and Mark Kerr.
Yeah. Their relationship. Yeah.
Their relationship was phenomenal. That movie, I think the movie should have been about the two of them and their relationship.
It is partly.
It is partly. It wasn't enough for me.
Yeah.
I think if you don't really like get into the Dawn stuff that much, don't half-ass it. Or to me, it felt half-assed. But yeah, I think if the movie was kind of pitched that way, as like, hey, this is about Mark Coleman, and like, I don't know, in a space like that, you don't get a lot of like love. Obviously, like not romantic love, but for like a UFC movie to be about like the brothership and love between these two friends, I think that would be a lot more just beautiful and like hit people a lot harder.
I think you're getting to something that's I definitely agree with. I think that that aspect of it lends itself well to also the way that they depict the fights and how they're, you're kind of floating around them and they're very beautiful and there's, very peaceful sounding music going over the whole thing. And, that combined with the relationship between Mark Kerr and Mark Coleman, made for something really interesting. I thought the pinnacle of the movie was the ending where Mark goes out to fight and win his fight, and Mark Kerr is, getting stitched up in the back, and the music is playing, and that, like, I thought that ending was really solid. I enjoyed that. I honestly think it could have ended like around there. The actual ending of the movie I kind of thought was a little dumb. But we can talk about that in a minute.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. The Mark Kerr, Mark Coleman dynamic was the life within the movie.
Yeah, and it just wasn't there enough. And
yeah.
It'd be one thing if the Mark and Dawn stuff was like really, really good and I really was feeling for them. I mean, I was to like an extent. I'm a human being. And I know people who deal with like drugs and stuff like that, and just abusive relationships. But I don't know. Like when like that's what the movie's kind of about. Like you got to be really, really careful to, I don't know, do it right. Like not. I don't think they were half-assing it, but it just did not work for me. I don't know. We talked about this little in some movies last year where they would just like have these themes that like you really need to handle carefully,
Mm-hmm.
and they just didn't. So it just comes off as like, ooh, like that just leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just how I felt. I was disappointed with this movie. I didn't have like a bad time. I don't know if I would watch it again. I'm glad I saw it. I don't feel like I wasted my money or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it with a friend. There were 2 other people in the theater. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, like I said, The Rock, Benny Safdie, Emily Blunt. We like all these people. And Benny
Also,
Safdie,
the actor who played Mark Coleman.
yes,
I think
he's
it's
great.
Ryan Badir. It's Badir.
Mhm.
He's a UFC fighter.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's
He's
what I
never
thought.
acted before, and I thought he was my favorite one in this movie. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if he get the best. It was my favorite performance for sure. I want to
Yeah.
see that guy in more movies. And it just made me want the movie to be about Mark and Mark more.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, do you want to talk about the ending or the box office?
Let's go with the ending, and then we'll leave that nasty box office talk for
Okay.
after we talk about the movie.
So the ending shows Mark Kerr, the real Mark Kerr, going to the grocery store, getting some things, doing real guy stuff, if you will. And then he walks out, and then some text comes over the screen that basically tells you he gets back with Dawn, and they've been married for a while, or they went to Vegas and got married, like on, in one night or whatever. And then it gives you a bunch on basically what I think the movie should have already got across. Like the text at the end of the movie I thought was a little bit silly because it should have been what the whole point of the movie was, and it kind of was there, kind of wasn't, which is, I'm assuming, why the text is there in the first place. But the text basically tells you like Mark Kerr was one of the most important pioneers for this sport, and a bunch of stuff about that. But again, that should have been in the 2-hour movie.
Yeah, I think it's just a bigger issue with a lot of biopics. Just don't want to get into the nitty gritty because they're usually working with the person or the person's estate. See the Michael Jackson movie that's been stuck in development hell and it's going to come out like 2 years late because they can't say anything bad about him because they're working with the Jackson estate. Even a movie like Elvis, which is like one of my favorite biopics ever. I love that movie to death. Tiptoes around a lot of the nastier stuff Elvis did, and you kind of got the B side of that in Priscilla, which was appreciated. But yeah, I just hate when these movies tiptoe around this stuff. I mean, like everything with Mark Kerr's addiction, which was a big part of him and just what he went through. And a lot of athletes and fighters deal with this, start juicing and then he can't stop. And they just kind of tip you like he came back from rehab and it was all good. Other than Don, who kept drinking in front of him and making everything worse and not caring about his feelings. So, I don't know. With a movie like this, either go all in or don't make it.
Yeah.
Or don't tiptoe around, Don't make it about Mark and Don if you don't really want to go there. Or, I don't know. That's just how I felt. I was a little disappointed. I don't think this was anywhere near as good as Good Time or Uncut Gems.
No.
Will Marty Supreme be better than this, Max?
I would say so. Yeah, I think Marty Supreme is going to be better than this. But, yeah, no. The thing that this most reminded me of the Smashing Machine was the opening scene. Not the opening scene. The intro credits to Uncut Gems. That's what this movie reminded me of most, because that is just a very ethereal. You're going through a diamond and there's ding, ding, ding,
Yeah.
you know, like that kind of stuff. That's what a lot of this movie felt like, which I liked that aspect of the movie, but like you said, the Mark and Dawn stuff was a little bit like, what are we doing here? This is kind of, you know, it felt very raw. I'll give it that. And I think that's what they were trying to go for. They talked about hiding cameras on set so that the actors thought that their immersion within the scene wasn't broken, and like that comes across. Like, it does feel pretty raw. It feels like you're just following this guy throughout a stage of his life.
Can I tell you why though?
Yeah.
Do you know this is like essentially a shot-for-shot remake of the documentary?
I did not know that. No.
Yeah. So like the scene where he's in the waiting room talking to the woman about the UFC is like a bar for a bar. An actual thing that happened in the documentary.
Interesting.
Which I think I kind of hate that. I don't know. Like, why are we remaking documentaries? I don't know. I just think it's stupid. But yeah, like I think it does lend well to the movie, especially if you don't know. I haven't seen the documentary. I don't really want to watch it because I don't want to hate this movie even more. But I don't know. I think that's where a lot of that came from, is that a lot of this is like shot for shot of a documentary of the same name.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just a really weird situation around a lot of stuff with this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating, really, because there's so much that I like love, like just very, very high highs in this movie, and just some like pretty low lows to where like I just leave feeling disappointed more than anything.
I agree. I mean, I think it's a pretty mixed bag, but I tend to lean toward the positive side just because of the, you know, stylistic choices that we talked about. Like, I thought those were bare minimum interesting, but I'm not going to be walking away from the Smashing Machine thinking it was one of the best of the year, or even worth recommending to a bunch of people.
Yeah, I went home after this. I was home in San Antonio for Jewish holiday, and we were having like a break fest. There was like 40 people over, and a bunch of people like, oh, like, what'd you see most recently? Oh, I saw Smashing Machine today. Did I go see it? No.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. I've just been telling them to watch one battle after another.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Disappointing, but yeah, I'd probably lean more positive than not.
Yeah.
When I try not to think about the bigger things with this movie, I guess.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it as a follow-up to Uncut Gems, it's like, yo.
You can't, though. I don't think.
Yeah, you can't.
Because
it's half of them.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about walking out of the theater. One of my first thoughts walking out of the theater was, this is going to have terrible word of mouth. And the reason I say that is not any judgment on the quality of the film necessarily. That part of it is the quality of the film, but mostly this movie is being marketed as a typical, you know, fighting movie, biopic about an important person movie, and it's not really that. Like we said, it's a lot more experiential, ethereal, and like you said, they're remaking a documentary to some extent. So it is not part of the typical fighter biopic mold. It's not Creed. It's not any of that stuff. It doesn't feel like that at all.
I think this movie has like 4 target audiences, and like all of them don't like one thing about it. You're not going to get the UFC bros to come see this. There's not enough fighting. I don't know. I thought this was even more billed as like a drama romance movie that had fighting about a fighter. Like the UFC bros aren't going to come see this. The film snobs don't want to see this because The Rock's in it.
Yeah, I mean, this was. Yeah, what'd you say?
it's a hard sell, and movies shouldn't be made to be sold or with like a, target audience in mind. We try not to talk about box office too much in the negative light here. I think it just shows, like this movie, I don't know like who the audience for this movie really is. And like they were promoting it at the UFC events. Like Benny Safdie went on Logan Paul's podcast. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't.
But like those people, I don't know who watches Logan Paul's podcast. I don't want to know who watches Logan Paul's podcast.
Yeah.
They're not gonna go see that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and
I appreciate him.
They
using
didn't.
Yeah, they didn't. But I
movie-
appreciate him like using his A24
Yeah,
status to do what he wants to do. Even though like this movie is a very, very hard sell. And The Rock's just not enough anymore.
yeah. I mean, it's the lowest opening for The Rock at 5.9 million US. Not a great opening. It's going to have a long way to go. They spent about 50 million on the movie, I believe. That's the reported budget. And then there's a little more that goes into marketing and things like that. So well over $50 million for this movie. Now, I'm not going to do the thing that all of those tweets that I hate do where they're like, oh, this movie, they spent $50 million on the movie. It made $6. It's got $100 billion to go. And then everybody's like, oh, wow, what a, oh my God, this is a catastrophe. What's going on here? And it's like, most of those people need to shut the fuck up, respectfully.
I agree.
Yeah. So this movie is not going to make money. With that being said, they did get like killed by the absolute Taylor Swift buzzsaw like a couple of weeks in advance. For context, I believe it was it like 3 weeks before the opening of this movie? 2-3 weeks? I think it was 2 weeks.
The Taylor Swift thing?
Yeah, when did they announce that?
I don't know. I just know it was in theaters this weekend.
I believe it was 2 weeks before this movie was set to come out. Taylor Swift announces the official release party for A Showgirl is opening on this weekend that also contains The Smashing Machine.
I find it hard to believe that had anything to do with this movie not doing well.
Are you sure? I think it definitely impacted it to some extent. I'm not saying this movie would have had a $25 million opening if not for Taylor Swift, because everybody who went to go see Taylor Swift would have seen The Smashing Machine. I'm not saying that at all. But I do think it would have opened slightly higher because Taylor
Maybe
Swift
like
was obviously
$2 million higher. Like I think the Taylor Swift movie was a much bigger deal for One Battle After Another and like taking all of its screens. I just think this movie was a hard sell. When we kind of talk about the start, love the guy, but people don't really care for The Rock anymore. And other than the UFC stuff, this movie was kind of sold on, look at The Rock in a good movie. Like that's kind of what the easiest selling point for this movie was. And that's not what people want from The Rock. I don't think people go see Rampage or Skyscraper because they love The Rock so much. Granted, the box office from pre-2020 is completely different from how it is now. But people went to see those movies because they knew they were just going to be like dumb fun times at the movies, not because they love The Rock. And it's like, oh, I need to see every movie he's in. Like we see every movie Timothée Chalamet's in or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of a recipe for not doing well. But if this movie gets an Oscar nomination, that might just be more than enough for The Rock.
Yeah, I mean that could be seen as a success for this movie. That'll do it for us. Talking about The Smashing Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking forward to what's coming next. We got a lot of stuff coming up. But yeah, no, we'll see you next time on Sneaking Into the Movies.
Thank y'all for listening. See y'all for Tron. Yikes.